Okay, folks, I told you you were not going to wait as long for this one, but we just got back from seeing Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and we kind of have to talk about this one in a brief amount of time because I have to be somewhere after this. But initial reactions for you on this one?
Well, for me, I've already seen. This is my second time seeing it, so this was still a solid movie, really good movie, I would say, in terms of this phase. So I would say it's up there for being a really solid movie.
Okay. For me, I kind of have a mixed opinion on this one.
And that being?
There are some things I like, and there are some things I'm like, not so sure on, you know?
Not so sure on. I mean, which ones did you like a lot, and which ones do you think they were skeptical on?
Well, for one thing, like, this is... The Black Panther doesn't show up till the end of the movie. Like, if you just called this Wakanda Forever and left Black Panther out entirely, I might have been okay with that. Because, like, in the original Black Panther, like, Black Panther's in that movie, like, a lot. Whereas here, and there's a reason for this, the Black Panther shows up at the very end, you know? If you just called this Wakanda Forever, I might have had more context with that title, so to speak. And in terms of the other mixed feelings, like, this movie's 2 hours, 41 minutes long. It felt like 3, but I didn't feel like it was wasting my time. It just kind of felt a little lengthy.
For me, in terms of the Black Panther, I mean, it is fine to call it Black Panther, even though you don't see that iconic suit until the back end of the movie or the climax of the movie. But it is still referenced a bunch of times during the movie. Yeah. In terms of Chadwick.
Yo, definitely. And there's a lot of tributes to Chadwick in this movie. But before we get into sort of anything and what I felt mixed on, what were your feelings on the first Black Panther movie?
The first Black Panther movie was, in terms of that one, that was another, like, really good one. He did a really good job in terms of the Black Panther. And the suit, and I don't know if we want to get to it a little bit, but I just kind of felt the iconic suit colorings of it. It's that, you know, both suits are still the black, but it's the other parts of the color.
Yeah, very kind of silver lining, you would say?
I would say a little bit more of the emotions or how the characteristics of each of the person are. So, in the first Black Panther movie, you see, you know, whenever Chadwick's, you know, T'Challa, his is black and purple.
Oh yeah, because he absorbs that and then releases it back again during the attacks.
Yep, and then his outer, you know, like the other color. While the other guy,
Killmonger.
Killmonger. Yep, he was black but yellow. You know, so it represented the other side of it per se.
And what was that again? Because I don't remember what that was about.
Well, he was more on that fear or like kind of like. Because you know how yellow...
Oh, you're talking yellow lanterns, like the yellow lanterns are... The yellow color is fear, but the purple color is not really willpower.
Purple, I would say... Because again, Killmonger kind of said it in the second movie to Shidori. Shishuri, yeah. He said nobility. You know, he was too noble. You know, purple also meant for royalty or nobility as well.
Oh, so the purple's the noble color, whereas the yellow is the fear color.
Yeah, I kind of when I saw that first, I was like, okay, that makes sense in terms of the coloring because he was yellow, black and yellow, which is him fear and anger representing that, while T'Challa was more noble and stuff like that, which brings out that purple.
I see. For me, I kind of enjoyed the first Black Panther, but I will be the first to admit that I feel it's one of the more overrated entries in the MCU. Because people were hyping it up as like the greatest thing ever. I remember when it came out, and I'm like, I don't know if it's the greatest thing ever, but I will give the movie credit. It did give us some new things in the MCU, like Wakanda, its culture, which was really well done. And there were some fantastic shots of the African landscape in the first movie. However, though, the first Black Panther, it does have sort of kind of similarities to the first Lion King. You know, like,
I think I've heard this comparison before.
where like Killmonger is like Scar and he wants to be the king, and so he challenges T'Challa, then throws him off the cliff, Gah! And then you hear the family go, no! And then he comes back and you can almost hear him going, this is my kingdom, Killmonger, step down!
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah, I've heard that comparison in a few places before. I've heard that comparison.
And some of the effects in the first Black Panther, like some of them looked very fakey. Mm-hmm. Like towards the end, like they looked like some of them came out of a PS2 game at points. Mm. I'm not exaggerating. I watched it on the 4K in this room.
Yeah.
And they look so digital, you know? Mm. But, I mean, yeah. I think it's a decent movie, the first Black Panther. But I didn't overly love it like so many others did. And it did not deserve to win Best Picture, but the nomination was okay.
Nomination was definitely, I would say, a pretty good choice. But, of course, I mean, again, everyone liked the movie because of cultural. I think that's kind of like was the driving point. The character, too, helped a lot, too, as well.
Yeah, and they did that well. I just kind of feel like, you know, it's not the greatest thing ever. It's not Shakespeare. It's not what so many people were making it out to be, you know?
Yeah.
But compared to some of the bad stuff we've seen in the MCU, I would take Black Panther over the bad stuff. Yeah. And then Chadwick Boseman, he was great, obviously. Which brings me to something I do want to talk about. Do you think they could have recasted T'Challa or not?
It would have been really, really hard to do. I was actually kind of hoping for more of just a snippet, or at least some sort of variation of him maybe talking at some point during the movie. Just, to either his sister, mainly his sister at some point during, like, the back end of the movie.
Oh, in, like, the ancestral plane?
Yeah, but not the part where she first got in. That part I liked a lot. I was thinking more of either before she decided to not do the killing blow, or during the ceremony at the end.
I mean, they could have had a stand-in, and they could have like digitally imposed a face or something. But...
Yeah, because I know they did. They have the technology to do so, like with when Luke Skywalker and
Oh yeah, with Luke Skywalker, with Princess Leia, with Tarkin in Rogue One. But honestly, I mean, to me, you could have recasted T'Challa, because Marvel has recasted their characters and actors before.
Yeah.
Because I get Chadwick was great. I loved him. I really did. But I just kind of feel like you can't do Black Panther without T'Challa, you know?
Yeah.
Because how do you expect Black Panther to go on for a long time without T'Challa?
Well, in the comics, they did have, her, his sister, take over the mantle as Black Panther in the comics.
Okay, so that might be the case. I didn't read the comics, so...
Yeah, it was referenced, that she took over at some point. And I think he did die. I don't know if I'm trying to remember her how in the comics, but she took the mantle, though, at some point.
Mm. Okay, so that would be our initial reactions on the first one. So you want to know more about my mixed feelings on this one?
Yeah, I know the first part you mentioned to me a couple times, and that before we start filming this, and that was the beginning of the movie.
Oh, yeah, I gotta talk about this. So, the way T'Challa dies in this movie is he dies from, no joke, an illness.
Yep.
They don't say what, but it's some kind of illness, and they're trying to find a cure for him. They 3D print this herb, which was herb. Is that how you say it?
It's a herb, yeah, herb. Yeah, an herb, yeah. But that herb was for, how you get to the ancestral plane and stuff like that. Kind of like, how you get the Black Panther strength, basically.
Yeah.
She was trying to recreate that to try to find a way to help, regenerate his brother, or her brother.
Yeah, or find the cure. But I've got a huge problem with this, and that... So, the way Chadwick Boseman died in real life was from colon cancer.
Yep.
And in the movie, T'Challa dies from an illness. They don't say what.
Yep.
But I'm like, you could not have found another way to kill him off without it reflecting real life.
I don't know how you would have. I mean, it would have been hard to do it other ways, though. Like, are you gonna say he got killed in action? I mean, but how? We don't see that.
Yeah, maybe. Or they could have maybe had him go on a mission with more Avengers or something. But I know in What If.
Yeah.
What If, like the Killmonger episode of What If, we did see T'Challa get killed off in that episode.
I know in the What If, but in terms of live action, like in the movie, it still would have been hard to do, basically. Because again, it goes back to the whole how you're gonna replace, T'Challa.
Yeah, but I'm just like, I just feel like when we go see movies, we're not supposed to get reflections of the real world. We're supposed to be in a different world, We're supposed to be invested in what we're doing, but to kill him off with an illness, I just felt was too close to the real world.
Although the one thing I kind of found somewhat, a little bit on the, I don't know if this is like the right mood per se, is during the, that ceremony funeral.
Oh, the funeral scene was actually well done.
I know it was well done, but to me, when you have a significant person like that, like the Black Panther or the King, when he dies, I don't know if dancing would be the ideal situation. I know it's different culture and how they deal with the funerals and stuff like that, but for me, it's like when a king dies or when a protector dies, I don't know if dancing or making like music would be something that you would do. I would have felt like more of a kind of like an actual like funeral per se.
Yeah, and I think maybe they were just trying to pay tribute to him, but I know there's an animated Avengers film that does feature the Black Panther. It's Ultimate Avengers 2. And so King T'Chaka, when he dies in that movie, that's more of the funeral setting you want. The people are mourning him, they're sad, they're singing about his loss, but there's no dancing.
Yeah.
Like, that funeral scene was very well done in Ultimate Avengers 2, and here it's well done. It's a touching tribute.
Yeah, it is a touching tribute. I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of, like, you could have still paid tribute to him, but in more of a kind of like, in this sort of setting, we are already mourning about him. Just keep up with the rhythm instead of kind of like switching tune, basically, of, going from mourning to celebratory, but still remembrance, basically.
Yeah, they do that, and I guess I didn't mind it. I thought it was well done, but
yeah,
I don't know. And then so Shuri is now the main character of this movie.
Yep.
I guess, what do you think of her character? Because
she still builds off of her being that technological savvy person.
Yeah, like we saw that in Black Panther, we saw that in Infinity War.
Yep.
And now we're getting more of it here. I didn't mind it, really.
Yeah, because it still stuck to her character, per se. It still stuck to it. And of course, as she started to lose people around her, now she's becoming, cold on the inside, basically.
Oh, yeah. Like, there's a scene later on, spoiler alert, where the Queen dies in this movie. And then she's like, "Mama, Mama," or something. I don't remember what the word was.
Well, it was basically crying out for her mom, basically. And then that was, she did state it in her, during that funeral when basically she was getting counseled. The question was back to her, like, where's your heart stand, basically? Well, first was, where do you stand in terms of, like, the people being, the refugees, basically. We would like to know how you feel about your plan of actions. She stated that, and then he asked her, well, where's your heart at? And then she basically said, the last of her heart got buried. Which was
the mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene was so similar to how T'Chaka died in Civil War, and then T'Challa was mourning his death,
Yeah.
That was like a been there, done that kind of vibe for me.
Yeah.
It's like, I saw this before. I don't know if I needed to see it again.
Yeah.
I think, for me, in terms of my mixed feelings on this movie, the biggest problem with this film, in my opinion, is that you gotta sit through some stuff until you get to the really exciting stuff.
Well, yeah. Well, there were a lot of sitting around stuff, but then you get to some of the parts. One of them being finding the scientists who built, the technology to find vibranium elsewhere.
Yeah, this scientist character was Ironheart, was it?
Yeah, basically Ironheart. Yeah, the smarts of Tony Stark, but the comedy of Peter Parker.
Oh yeah, and with Ironheart, because I want to talk about this character a little bit. The way they introduced this character felt extremely similar to the way Peter Parker was introduced in Civil War.
Yeah.
You know, it felt like that, where they go visit the students. Obviously, Peter Parker wasn't in school; he was with his aunts May, and then with Riri Williams, they go to MIT because it's clearly MIT.
Yeah.
And they're talking to her, and then she's like all excited to meet people of Wakanda.
Excited, but also scared at the same time.
Yeah, and so I think they kind of say later on in the movie, like her dad showed her how to sort of take apart and build stuff.
Yeah,
and that led to her interest in engineering.
Yep.
Which, fair enough, that's a good explanation.
Yep.
I think this character, like, she did remind me of Tom Holland, because you said before we saw this movie, that she was going to be like Tom Holland almost.
Yeah.
I did get that kind of vibe from this character, but
Yeah.
there were also scenes that were similar to Iron Man, where I'm like, been there, done that. Like when she dons the Mark I suit she's built, she goes up in the sky and then falls down.
Yep.
That was so similar to what I saw in the first Iron Man movie.
Like I mentioned earlier to you a few times, she has the savvy and the smarts of Tony Stark, which is what her first initial Iron Man suit was, and everything else like that. The comedy comes from the Tom Holland Peter Parker, basically, and we've seen that too during when both her and Black Panther, the other Black Panther, they were both taken to the Aztec underworld empire, basically.
Yeah, Talokan.
Talokan, or at least the cavern that's like on the outskirts of Talokan. Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. I think with Ironheart, because this character, this is a very introductory kind of deal with her.
Yeah.
And so we'll definitely see more of her in her TV series that's coming to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I don't think I minded her character that much, except she did feel too similar to Tom Holland's Peter Parker.
Yeah, and she does have that again, the comedy of Tom Holland. Again, when she made the reference to like all the Imperial, like was it the Star?
She made all those movie references, like because there's a scene later on where the people of Talokan, they're like giving Shuri these formal wear, you know, and then she's like, "This is like something out of one of these three movies or something."
It's like, oh wait, prisoner of war getting dressed and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and then she does put it on to go meet Namor, and I turned to you in the theater and I'm like, this is so similar to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Where Marianne puts on the formal wear to meet up with Belloc.
Yeah.
It felt so similar to that.
Yep.
And then the actual armor she gets to wear later on, people were complaining about this online, about how it looks like a Power Rangers character.
I didn't really get that vibe when I first saw it.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. It's like her variation of the Iron Man suit, really.
Yeah, her variation. Although, if I had to compare it to other ones, it wouldn't be Power Ranger. It would be more of the DC character, Beetle. Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle?
Yeah.
You got Blue Beetle vibes from this?
Yeah, I would say it would look a little bit more of that. If I had to comparison of like an outside, not Power Ranger, I would say Blue Beetle from DC.
Yeah, and some people were complaining the CGI looked fake and stuff. I mean, not really. Not how I was looking at it.
Yeah.
But there were some moments in this movie where I can tell I'm looking at digital graphics.
Yeah.
They looked better than the first Black Panther, though.
Yeah.
I will give them that.
Yep.
But for the Ironheart character, this is clearly an introduction piece. She does feel similar to other Marvel characters I've seen.
Yep.
Maybe she'll get more in her TV series, but we shall wait and see.
Oh, she's definitely going to dance around those professors at MIT for sure with her savvy, cleverness and everything else like that.
I do like, though, how she's not an expert fighter. Like she's getting a head start, but she's not terribly expert fighter in this.
Oh, no, of course not. She's just a student at MIT.
I get that, but they will get a Captain Marvel, for instance, like she plowed her way through the enemies, which I felt no tension. They didn't do that here, and I liked that, you know? Because I was worried, back when we saw Thor Love and Thunder, I was worried Natalie Portman's Thor would be so powerful she would plow her way through the enemies.
Yep.
That wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case here.
Yeah.
So I like that. And I don't know, maybe we'll see more of this character as time goes on.
Definitely, for sure.
As for the other characters, there's a big one they introduced in this movie that we have never seen before, and that would be Namor. Because Namor has had probably one of the trickiest movie rights situations of all time.
Well, yeah, because it went from being Atlantis to, because it was supposed to be Atlantis to.
Well,
this-
hold up, before we get to that. See, Universal Pictures had the rights to Namor for quite some time.
Yeah.
Do you know the other Marvel character Universal had?
I think was it not about not to say Atlantis or something like that, or I'm trying to think.
It's the Hulk.
Yeah, the Hulk. Yeah.
Yeah, Universal had Namor and the Hulk. The Hulk they made a movie out of, and then they partnered up with Marvel when they made the Incredible Hulk. With Namor, they said for years, "Oh, we're making a Namor movie. We're gonna get a Namor movie made." Never got made.
Yep.
So now I think the rights reverted back to Marvel, but
Yep.
it's kind of a tricky situation. And so for Namor, this version of the character is not Atlantean,
Nope.
but rather it's Aztec or Mayan.
Yeah, because it's kind of like that Central American or South American, kind of like that Aztec or Mayan, like gods, basically.
Yeah, I get what the director was going for here. He said in an interview that he wanted to explore underwater kingdoms that were not Atlantis,
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, you couldn't just make him Atlantean? You couldn't just stick with the comic book roots? And I'm sure Marvel feared the DC fans would go, hey, you ripped off Aquaman! Or something like that.
I don't know if they would have done that just because, again, Atlantis has been in several different other variations of different, like, either comics or movies and stuff like that. So seeing another Atlantis would not be, kind of like, pitchfork and torches and stuff like that.
Yeah, but at least they stuck to the fact that he's a mutant.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Yep.
And Namor apparently predates Ms. Marvel, who, when Ms. Marvel came out, I remember they were going off about how she was a mutant and stuff, like the first mutant ever. But then Namor was like born in 1571 AD, I believe.
Yeah, because he was born like 16th century, basically.
Yeah, and so he's a mutant, which means he's got the X gene in his blood.
Yep.
So when are the X-Men going to show up? I have no clue.
Yeah, you're not too sure. But again, he got his mutant from the plant, basically, like that blue plant.
Yeah, the blue plant, and then the mother, obviously.
Drinking it.
And then she got pregnant, which...
Well, she was pregnant already at first when she drank it.
Oh my gosh, I know what this rips off. Where she drinks a liquid and then gets pregnant.
No, she was already pregnant and she drank it.
And then that mutated the baby.
Yep.
So he doesn't have the X gene. This is what made him a mutant.
Yeah, it's the drink. Yeah, because she was already pregnant with him. At first, she was hesitant because of, of him inside. But then the shaman was like, "No, you must drink it. He's ill," and stuff like that. Try to, kind of like fool the mother into, into basically kind of drinking it.
Yeah.
Out of trying to be the protective mother, basically.
Okay. I mean, with this Namor, this is clearly a rebooted Namor, is the best way I can describe it. This is not the traditional Namor that I know. This is more of a rebooted version, but I did not mind this. I was pretty okay with this.
Yeah, because, again, it is outside of the Atlantis, because, yes, there probably are a few underwater cities, in the past that's not named Atlantis. But it is kind of hard for people when they first think of underwater cities, you think of Atlantis.
Yeah, and maybe there's others, but we don't know about them.
We don't know about them. But again, it's very hard when you're when you hear underwater city, you're thinking of Atlantis.
Oh, definitely.
Which is, I can imagine, the first time when there's going to be a city, the first underwater city that Earth is going to have, it's probably going to be called Atlantis.
Yeah. And so the actor they got for Namor, I actually thought this guy did a really good performance. I have not seen him in any other thing else. I really liked his performance in this one. It was really good. He was like kind of tough guy of sorts, but he had that kind of smirk kind of look going almost in some scenes.
Which one? You mean the big tough like secondary antagonist?
It's around the first scene we see him coming to Wakanda, and then he comes out of the water and he's got this kind of smiley look almost.
You talk about
where the Queen and Shuri, they're like talking about the passing of T'Challa. Then he comes out of the water.
Oh, Namor. Yep.
Yeah, I'm kind of having trouble remembering stuff in this movie.
Yeah, so it was not Namor, not the other guy, not the other big other buff dude.
Oh, the other big guy was Atuma.
Yeah.
Who's got history in the comics with Namor, but
Yeah.
this version of Atuma was not all that great.
Well, I think he served as like that rival, almost like in the movie too, the general.
Like he was the rival general.
Like that rival general, yeah.
Yeah, that definitely was, but I didn't think this version of Atuma was the greatest. Because I've seen a version of Atuma in a Fantastic Four cartoon where he overthrows Namor because he feels Namor is not doing what he should be doing, and that is waging war against the surface world.
Yep.
But then Namor gets the help of the Fantastic Four, and they go in, they overthrow Atuma, and Namor gets the throne back.
Yeah, although they may do that now because the other person, the other right hand, that woman general.
Oh, his sister?
Yeah, his sister. That kind of felt like that she was, she may take up that mantle in terms of trying to overthrow the brother and taking the throne to wage war in the surface world.
I mean, to be fair, I kind of wonder if Namor could have gotten a movie of his own. Because that would have been completely different from everything else we've seen.
Yep.
And it would be a new character. We'd see the underwater side of the MCU.
Yep.
They didn't do that here. They felt the need to put him together with Wakanda.
Yep.
And, I mean, yeah, I did not mind this version. I was a bit concerned, but I didn't mind it. And the actor playing Namor was actually pretty good.
Yeah, he was solid indeed.
Yeah. And he, any action scene featuring him was actually pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. Because it kind of reminds you with the winged feathers, kind of like one of those, was it the Greek god? Or was it...
Hermes?
Hermes, yeah.
Was it Hermes? I think it was Hermes.
Well, I think what was it? I know for Roman it's Mercury. I don't know what the Greek variation.
It's probably Hermes. I'd have to read up on that again.
Yeah, but the winged foot where he just goes lightning fast and stuff like that.
I remember when I killed that guy in God of War 3.
Yeah.
Like, you cut the legs off of him in God of War 3 so he doesn't run away and stuff.
Yep.
That was a violent game, but it was fun.
Yep.
The other problem with this movie, other than the fact that it takes a while to get to something interesting, is that I think the story is not that interesting enough.
Oh, so basically you don't like the story of like trying to find the scientist before
What was their reason for trying to go after Riri Williams again? Because I kept forgetting what it was.
The fear of everybody else getting vibranium and using it against, them, basically.
So the Talokan people are like, if this gets out to the rest of the world, we're afraid of what they could do with it.
Yep.
And so the Wakandans have the same attitude, too. They're afraid of what the world will do if they get their hands on it.
Yes, the difference was that they thought that only vibranium was in Wakanda. They thought that. They didn't figure that, other places in the world that had vibranium. So they didn't know that, and they probably were just like, yeah, good luck with that, finding it. And they would have got there, would have like, crap, I guess they have vibranium now. Whereas the underwater city, Talokan, they were more of, oh crap, they are about to get it, we gotta do something about it.
Yeah, like, that's the reason why. But yeah, I think, this movie's story I just wasn't heavily invested in, Yep. And it made me appreciate the first one more, and that the first Black Panther's story is far more investing than this story was.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could definitely say that, even though, like you were mentioning about the first Black Panther being very similar to the Lion King.
Little similarities to the Lion King.
Yeah, the similarities to the Lion King, yeah. This one was a little bit interesting, only because, again, it's like an arms race, basically. But one objective was to kill the scientist, while the other one was to kind of like just take it back for safety, protection, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, with this film's runtime, what doesn't help is that there are things I could have cut. If someone gave this to me as their initial cut, I'd be like, okay, maybe we should kind of trim things down a bit, because many reviewers have said this movie could have been done in the less amount of time than what we were given. Like, it could have been the same runtime as the first Black Panther, maybe lesser, but who knows?
Yeah.
I think some argued it could be done in 90 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what parts in the movies you would take out, though, that wouldn't, like leave like a blank, basically.
Well, some of the humor I would have taken out because it padded out the runtime. There's this scene where the general character and Shuri, they're like, is it the shades, the makeup? I did not like that joke. I would have taken that out entirely.
That was pretty funny though.
I don't know. It's like, this is the problem I have with Marvel humor, is like some of it feels unnecessary,
Yeah.
and some of it I should have cut.
Well, again, because they're trying to go undercover. It's like, is it the disguise? What's up with me? What's wrong with me? It's like, no, you're fine. It's just that I'm a little bit more younger than you are. She didn't want to say that, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just the pacing in this movie just made this feel kind of like a slog.
Yeah.
And I've seen plenty of superhero movies where it felt really slow. This was not that. But I'm like, I think what happened was after Chadwick Boseman died, they had to change plans for this movie. So whatever the original plan was with Chadwick Boseman, maybe it was more interesting than what we ended up getting.
We would never know about that one for sure, unless the director or the actors that that were in the production at the time probably had an idea, or at least talk about it in like an interview. But we will never know.
Oh, back to the whole Namor becomes a mutant because of the blue liquid thing while she's still pregnant. I was almost going to say this, but then you cut me off about what this potentially ripped off.
Yeah.
But this kind of rips off like the ending of Samurai Jack season 5. Because in season 5, the main leader of the Aku cult, she drinks Aku's essence, and then she gets pregnant. We don't know if she was pregnant with those children or not, but I'm guessing... No, actually, you know what? The essence of Aku made her pregnant, so when you said that, I'm like, okay, she drinks the blue fluid, then comes pregnant, but then you corrected me, and I'm like, are you not I thought I'm seriously getting, like, maybe that ripped off season 5 of Samurai Jack a little bit.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from, but no, she was already pregnant with him before she drank it. Drank the liquid.
That must have been the case. And then another issue I have, there's a line where M'Baku says, Namor is as strong as the Hulk. And I'm like, well, how? The Hulk's much stronger than everybody else. It's well known.
Well, I mean, I don't. He has never fought the Hulk before, but I'm pretty sure he got punched really hard and it broke through a couple layers of armor.
Oh, that scene where he's like gonna attack Namor with his like weapon.
Well, he did, but then it broke, and then all of a sudden just.
Yeah, and then he punches him in the chest, and it's like really slow-mo and stuff. Yep. Were you getting Mortal Kombat vibes from that? Because that seriously looked like it came out of Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat or any other like fighting or action movie that when like a big punch occurs and you're just like, oh.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like the reaction is just like ooh, he got hit really hard.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen the way in Mortal Kombat X, for instance, when they do those super moves, it looked like that. It seriously did, minus the gore and the bone crunching. Yeah, because we can't do that. This is PG-13.
Yeah. But again, he broke through at least a couple layers, but not all the way through. And he's like, oh my god!
Yeah. I would say the action sequences were pretty good to watch, I did not have too much of an issue with those. Yeah. They were, like, actually, those water bombs that the Talokan people have. Yep. I don't know why, but I seriously thought they were going to cause, like, flooding or a massive tsunami with those weapons.
Well, if you had enough of those, like they did with the underwater, bombardment underneath, you could make a flood.
Because, like, how they kind of flooded Wakanda a bit, but not the entire city? Yep. Like, they seriously could have built something bigger and, like, flooded just to send a message,
I mean, it was sending a message with that one, but I get what you're saying in terms of flooding the entirety of the city versus just, drowning it, other than just like a flash flood.
And maybe they could have like sent a message to the surface world and like blew up one of these bombs in the middle of like the Atlantic or the Pacific, and then it sends a massive tidal wave and it comes straight for the U.S. Or something like that.
Well, now you got like a big different situation where now you got like one group of people have to take care of the tsunami or the manufactured tsunami basically versus having the battle over. In a sea, in open waters, basically.
And also, you saw how they were riding on orcas, the Talokan people?
Yep, whales and orcas.
Yeah, I kind of expected them to go to SeaWorld and break the orcas out of SeaWorld. Or all the other aquatic wildlife, Yeah.
Although, it would have been... I know it was still a PG-13, but I was going to say, if they would have allowed it, They probably could have brought in some sharks just to eat some people.
Yeah, or they could have broken into SeaWorld and like, this is animal cruelty, and they like break the animals out.
Yeah, I don't know about that part. I would have thought that if they would have brought like a great white shark from out of nowhere, I'd be like, ooh.
Oh, that would have been very R-rated if they did that.
Yeah.
Complete missed opportunity on their part. What else is there I should say about this one? Because I really don't have much to say.
Well, what about the ancestral plane?
Oh yeah,
the first ancestral plane sequence.
The one with Killmonger?
Yep, Killmonger.
Yeah, he was an interesting surprise. I never thought we'd see him again.
It was an interesting twist. But I kind of felt like first time and then after digesting it, it made sense.
Yeah, because he was like, are you going to be as noble as T'Challa, or are you going to get business done like I did?
Well, the reason why he popped up in the first place, because her heart went cold, basically. And she, at that point, she lost her brother. She lost her father first, then she lost her brother, then she lost her mother. All of her family member has gone, basically.
And now she's going to that dark place.
She's going to that dark place where now that recent person, look at her father was killed by an explosion, basically. So,
yes, at the Sokovia Accords.
Yep.
Although Bucky Barnes didn't do that, it was Zemo.
Yep. Although I think Zemo, he was taken care of.
Yeah.
Her brother died due to illness, so you can't really blame anyone at that point. But now, with the mother dying, you actually know the killer, basically, which is Namor.
Yeah. And so it's almost like she's being tempted by the dark side, and Killmonger's like the dark side, and he's telling her, you gotta do this to get the business done.
Well, yeah, Killer was like, he's like, you called me. He's like, you called me here, and she's like, no, and I'm like, no, you did. Your heart did. When you said you buried that heart was buried with your mother, that last bit of it, that's cold right there. That's basically seeking vengeance. You called for him, basically, because your heart went cold.
Yeah, that sequence was not bad. The one with Killmonger I actually liked, and the more I think about it, I think the more I like that sequence.
Yeah, because he explained to her that you called me here because you want vengeance.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I think with her armor being that black and yellow, it represented that Killmonger. Because his armor was also black and yellow. That fear or vengeful type of person. And she was like that at first. Which is why her armor was that yellow. I was like...
Yeah, and the armor actually looked really good. I will give them that. It looked really good.
Yeah. Because it wasn't purple. It wasn't a different color. It was that
yellow fear.
That yellow fear. Vengeance, yeah.
Vengeance would be the better way to describe it than fear.
Yeah. It would, yeah. But it was still that way. Because Killmonger, like he was in the first Black Panther movie, it was vengeance for his father, basically.
And also he wanted to liberate, basically, people around the world.
Yeah.
And I would say the first Black Panther handled its political and racial angles a lot better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier did.
Yeah. So he had his vengeful ideas, happen basically. And then she was vengeful because, her family died and her recent one, her mother, being killed basically. So she wants vengeance off that.
Yeah, ultimately she does not give in to vengeance.
Yeah.
She tells Namor to yield. And he does.
Yeah, he does yield. But she was very, very close to slicing his head open.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that scene where she gets stabbed, fatally in the stomach, or was it the kidney that she got stabbed?
It was right here in that stomach, right here, that stomach, kidney, kidney or that hip area basically. She got stabbed right there, and it was stabbed through it right to the rock really good as well, so she couldn't pull it out basically.
Yeah, you would think she would have bled out from that or died. But she did kind of limp a bit. I'll give them that. She did kind of limp a bit, but I seriously thought she was going to die from that.
Well, yeah, and especially too when she got stabbed through right there, you would have thought that just standing right there and all of a sudden having that spear right there, unless you get out of it really quickly, you're probably going to die off of that.
Maybe the herb kind of fixed her up a bit.
Yeah, just kind of sewed it up, just to patch it up, basically.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised how good the 3D printing on that herb was. Because they have this advanced 3D printer that can essentially make these advanced medicines and all the other stuff. They can seriously bring the herb back. Because it was all burned in the last movie. They can seriously bring it back this way.
Yep, and of course, again, he burned it because so that way no more Black Panthers come back, basically. But now with her reprinting it, now she can make more of those, which would make the Black Panther alive again.
Yeah, and I'm like, where can I get that kind of 3D printer? Because that seriously is a good 3D printer.
That is a really good one, yeah, indeed, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of like what else is there to talk about with this film? Because again, I'm having trouble remembering this one.
Well, then you got the new, we already talked about the new Ironheart.
Yeah, we
suit,
talked
basically.
about Ironheart. We talked about Namor.
Yep, and then basically it just got to the point to where you have war and all that sort of stuff, the ultimatums. Yep.
I think my major problem with this movie is that, you know how I said it takes a while until it gets to something interesting and stuff? I think this is a problem I've kind of seen with sequels, where they need to try and be as good or try to be their own thing from the original, and they can't live up to the original. And that was the case with this one.
Yeah.
They do this with the Iron Man sequels, where I felt both of them did not live up to what made the first one so good.
Yeah.
And then the Thor sequels were not as good as the first one, in my opinion.
I know in your opinion, but some people, well, they would agree with you with the second movie. The third one they would disagree with, and probably the fourth one, maybe.
Well, I am willing to argue with people on Thor Ragnarok, and that is a hole I probably dug for myself, but you know what? I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, Ragnarok and Love and Thunder.
Well, Love and Thunder, I kind of liked that one a little more.
Yeah.
But, like, with Wakanda Forever, it's like, people were comparing this one to Wonder Woman 1984, where that one wasn't as good as the original Wonder Woman.
Oh, yeah?
People were comparing it to that, and I'm like, I'm kind of getting that too, where it's like, it's difficult to follow up to the first one. And what we ended up getting, outside of maybe moments that I enjoyed or things that I kind of liked, you know, this one, I'm like, there's things I like, but then there's things I don't like. It does take a while to get things going, and then when stuff really happens, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And the action's not bad, and the lore that they give isn't bad. And I mean, maybe it's the world building that bogs this down, because people have said the world building did bog down some of the MCU movies.
Yeah. Well, this one too. Val also made the appearance too.
Oh yeah, that character from the TV shows.
Yeah, for the TV shows, who was supposed to be like the director of the Dark Avenger, or the anti-Avenger, basically. She's trying to form that her own little.
Maybe we'll see her again in the Thunderbolts movie.
Maybe, but yeah, she appeared in this one. Although she never did recruiting. She was more like investigative and stuff like that. Yeah,
actually, any scene featuring Val or Everett Ross, I don't even know if those scenes needed to be in there.
Well, Ross, it was just because he was more of an informative. Although Val, she was. I mean, I don't know why. I guess it would have been more of a question on her end, because it's like, unless she was trying to recruit somebody, but she never went on to recruit, because whenever we saw her in the TV shows, she was on the recruitment process.
Yeah, like she was trying to recruit John Walker in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
John Walker, or...
Then there was Yelena.
Yelena.
She was trying to get her go after Clint Barton.
Yeah.
But then Yelena found out, oh, he's not the killer.
No. But again, she was trying to form like her own, like Dark Avenger. She went after like a Dark Captain America, a Dark Black Widow.
I'm kind of wondering if any scene featuring Val and Everett Ross needed to be cut.
I would say not so much of Ross, maybe Val, but yeah, because she never did like any recruitment. She was more investigative and more on the more of just like trying to say, hey, I'm just gonna leave up to him,
Probably.
Yeah, and then the final scene with her, last time we saw her, which was arresting Ross, I was like, I don't know. For the majority of the movie, it's like, unless you were trying to find somebody, I don't know why you needed her in there in the big place. Unless she was trying to find somebody, recruit somebody, or, again, trying to chime in to see what's going on with Wakanda, basically.
Yeah, and didn't she arrest Ross because he had some involvement and was working with the Wakandans?
Yes, because, again, the Americans feared that the Wakandans were the ones that attacked, basically, were the aggressors.
Oh, that attack sequence in the middle of the ocean?
The middle of the ocean and some other part, yeah. because they were fearful. Because again, that speech, you know, trying to say they will defend anything possible, but then of course you had this attack at the Atlantic. They thought it was the Wakandans and not the Mayan. You know the.
That attack sequence where they're out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
I don't know if the director knows this, but that scene ripped off a creepypasta that I've read. There's this creepypasta called Dark Circles in the Ocean,
Yep.
where the character in that story hears this like alluring humming noise.
Yep.
And it's like,
Yeah,
and so
like a mermaid or
yeah,
something
the
like
character's like drawn to it, and then the monsters come out of the dark holes and they start attacking.
Yep.
In this film, they're like in the ocean. You see their heads in the dark shapes, you know.
Yep.
And then there's that humming noise. They go,
Yep.
and then all the workers they like jump off to their death in the water.
Yep.
I think we never see what they get attacked by.
Most likely, I would imagine the
Jellyfish character. There was a jellyfish in the.
Yeah, maybe I would say more of the people basically would have probably just stabbed them.
Yeah, and then you got the two people putting on their earplugs.
Yep.
That seriously felt like it came out of Dark Circles in the Ocean. That creepypasta story.
Yeah.
You probably never heard of it, but I have.
I don't think I have, but I do know like the little singing voices. I know the realistic horror stories of mermaids where they will sing this, you know, for the to have the pirates
like
get closer.
Like in Pirates 4, they
Yeah.
were singing. Well, no, the sailor was singing, and then the mermaids come. Then they start singing, and then they're like,
Yep.
and then they like drag them in and try to eat them.
Yep.
Oh man, Disney produced this movie, and they probably didn't rip off Pirates, but they definitely ripped off a creepypasta. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, because again, singing and then falling and then going to the water to your death, basically, without knowing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see that. Maybe what if in the live-action Little Mermaid remake they do something like that?
Highly doubt that, because again, it's for kids.
Well, come on, spice the movie up and make a horror scene. That way, that will be more watchable than watching the same movie again. Oh, geez, that's another hole I dug myself with.
You probably get a lot of angry parents at that point and a lot of frightened kids.
Well, I'm willing to fight people over that because I got scared over some stuff in Disney.
Yeah.
Hold on a sec, folks. We just gotta fix up something quick. You were saying about the angry parents?
I was just saying that it would have been, again, you would have been on that side of being on the lot of angry parents and frightened kids, because it would have been more of a, hey, there weren't supposed to be any, scary sequence. And also you got this horror jump scare.
Oh, come on. The old Disney movies have scary things that traumatized me as a child.
Are you talking about Snow White and that little forest sequence?
The forest sequence is scary, but also the evil witch. Even Steven Spielberg admittedly was frightened of that as a child.
Oh, are you talking about when she when the queen transformed to the witch?
Yeah, that's some scary stuff, man.
That wasn't scary. I thought the more scary one was if anything was scary out of the Snow White one, was more of the forest sequence.
That was scary, but then there was this really scary sequence in the original Pinocchio. I don't remember what the character's name was. He was in a red jacket or something. He's like, I'm going to take the kids to Pleasure Island. And then the fox and the cat character are like, Pleasure Island? But no, you can't do that. And then he has this evil, crooked smile that's like, you see that as a kid, you're going to have nightmares.
Yeah, although I think that was more of other thing too, and that could be...
Oh yeah, the underlying theme, yeah.
That was an underlying... that's an underlying thing. Right there, which we will not get to.
Yeah. Oh gosh, we're talking about scary stuff and a Marvel movie that's owned by Disney, and then we're talking about Disney scary stuff.
Yeah, and again, the Pinocchio one, that's an underlying realistic scary thing. That's an real situation.
I'm just saying, the old Disney movies did have some scary stuff that may have been intentionally or unintentionally frightening.
Yeah.
And so, with these remakes, they just were probably too safe. You gotta spice it up a bit, you know?
I know, but what I'm saying is, if you have like a sequence again, like you have this like innocent little kids movie, and like this innocent little sequence, the next thing you know, like an alien, like the Primordial one, how like that alien was like sitting there still and also like jumps at and starts eating.
Which one was this again?
Was that not the alien, but it was technically the prequel to the Aliens. It was
Prometheus?
Prometheus, but it was the second Prometheus movie.
Alien Covenant?
I think it was like Covenant. Yeah.
Well, that movie wasn't scary. That was just too
But that-
too tame of a movie, really.
Well, what I'm saying is that sequence, where that alien was standing up still, then that slight little creak, and then just jump. I'm saying, imagine a movie like an innocent little kid, little thing like that. Imagine like the bunny, all right, like an innocent little bunny. All of a sudden, something happens, and all of a sudden that bunny grows fangs, and all of a sudden just jumps at you, like in the screen.
Well, Monty Python kind of did that.
It did that, but again, that was a little bit more comedy, but also horror sequence meant for a little bit more, a little older, people.
Well, the scene in Monty Python was funny, not
Yeah.
meant to be scary.
It's not meant to be scary. But I'm just saying, imagine that. Imagine seeing this cute little bunny. I mean, I guess I'm referencing Monty Python and stuff like that with this. But again, just imagine that, but all of a sudden it grows fangs and start attacking and eating people.
Right.
I'm just saying, you would have got a lot more angry parents just because it would have frightened the kid. It would have been a lot more fearful of bunnies.
Okay.
For no reason.
If that's the case with the angry parents, then where were the angry parents with all that Disney stuff we watched as children?
I don't think they would have been more angry about that one. Again, with the Snow White, with the forest sequence, or the witch, or something like that. I don't think there were a lot more kids would have been like more fearful of that. Because witches, again, they're fictional characters. Forests, I mean, you can still get a little bit intimidated by forests. Don't get me wrong. Some people are.
But even Pixar did scary things in their movies, too.
Which ones would that be? Again?
The scene where Hopper gets fed to the baby birds. When I saw that as a kid, I'm like, oh my gosh! That was
from that ant movie or something like
Bugs
that?
Life, where Hopper,
Bugs Life,
Hopper, he gets caught by the mama bird, and then the mama bird's feeding him to the babies. And as the camera goes into the baby's mouth, he goes, ah!
Okay.
That terrified me as a kid.
Okay, but at the same time, we grew up with the idea of that's what birds do. That's what mama bird do. They will grab like any worms or any bugs or whatever and feed it to their kids.
Yeah, but the way they shot that scene, it was like so intense.
It was intense. Yeah, it was intense indeed. But again, that is not. I mean, yes, it's kind of frightening because again, you're in the bug's perspective. But for us, it's like, well, it's not gonna happen to us, and we understand that. It's a bird feeding their kid.
Okay, yeah, I think we've kind of rambled on with terrifying stuff in Disney movies, but hey, they own Marvel, so I guess it made sense. These little rambles we go on.
Yeah.
I think the reason why I had trouble remembering so much with this movie and why I think this might be forgettable, it's because I think I'm having fatigue with the Marvel movies. Because Kevin Feige has talked about how fatigue could possibly settle in and stuff. People have talked about it, and I'm like, I'm feeling a little fatigued with this.
Well, I guess that's also sort of why we've been in this phase. We've been seeing a lot more TV shows rather than movies.
The only TV shows I think I liked out of all of Phase 4 were What If, which I thought was the best one.
Yep.
Hawkeye I enjoyed for what it was, and then Moon Knight was the one I want to see again.
And again, there are some other movies. There are still movies out there in Phase 4, but again, it's not.
Well, this is the last one of Phase 4.
Yeah.
Because Phase 5 starts next year.
But I'm saying in Phase 4, there were a little bit more TV shows than movies. Because in this Phase 4, we always saw, like, what?
We've got Black Widow, we've got Shang-Chi, we've got Eternals, we have Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, and then Thor.
Thor: Love and Thunder, and now Black Panther. So that's 7. That's 7 movies, which probably is a decent size. But
the standard rule for like the first 2 phases was 6, but then Phase 3 got ambitious, and now for this one it was the standard 6, but then they rearranged all their plans and stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I guess the Black Widow movie was supposed to be in the previous one, and not so much this one, which was, like you said, the standard 6. Because I guess Black Widow being the delayed movie, basically.
Oh yeah, they all were delayed because they had to adjust because of the pandemic and stuff.
But I think the Black Widow was supposed to be for a previous phase and not so much Phase 4. I think the 6 movies, if you take Black Widow out, were supposed to be for Phase 4.
I think
guess it went back to the standard 6 compared to Phase 3, which was a whole bunch of movies.
Yeah, actually, 2 more things I should say about Black Panther, because even though I don't know if I want to say this movie's boring or not, because there was, I think, more interesting things in this than there was in Black Adam. You know what I mean? Because when we did Black Adam, I was so bored with that movie.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, kind of boring, but there's also some things in here that are kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You just got to sit through some stuff to get
Yep.
to the interesting stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely, for sure. Then, of course, the epilogue sequence, which is...
The post-credit.
The post-credit where you meet the son.
Oh, yeah, because they established that T'Challa had a father with... what was the character's name again? I forget what it was. It was like Taika or something?
Yeah, because he had a son, basically.
So the son's going to be the new Black Panther somewhere down the road, I think.
Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Probably in like phase 8, and I'm saying phase 8 just because I don't know.
We don't even know if they'll get that far.
Don't know, but I'm saying I'm just probably go overboarding a little bit. But I'm just thinking more of how long is some of these phases going to be before he grows up to be old enough to take on that mantle.
What I want to see is Tony Stark's daughter become the new Iron Person at some point. Because I've seen fan art of a grown-up Morgan Stark in the Iron suit. I actually want to see that.
Well, there was a deleted scene of an older Morgan.
Yeah, we saw that, but I'm like, somewhere down the road, they're going to find a new actress, and I'm like, they should have her show up. That'd be kind of cool if they had her show up.
You also have the wife, though, taking up the other mantle as, Iron Man.
Oh, her hero's name is Rescue.
Yeah.
Well, I think Gwyneth Paltrow is pretty much done with this franchise. She doesn't really want to come back. So we're probably not going to see more of her. But I just want to see a Children of the Avengers scenario. Because there's an animated movie called Next Avengers, Heroes of Tomorrow, where Black Panther married Storm of the X-Men.
Oh, yeah?
And they had a child. And he was the new Black Panther.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool if they actually went that route and they had T'Challa and he married Storm. But we're never going to see that because,
Well, no, because he already has a kid now. That's one.
So maybe instead of Storm, this will be the kid that takes the place, and he doesn't have mutant powers.
No, but he probably will have something. He'll probably still have Black Panther's power, maybe, or take up that mantle.
That's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's many years down the road if they ever decide to do that.
Yeah. Which is why I say like phase 8, even though I'm probably exaggerating about that, but it's the idea of how, because we're about to get into phase 5, which is coming up here, and he's still, a kid basically, so.
Maybe we'll see him down the road. I don't know. They're talking about making a third Black Panther. This I know.
Yeah.
My only question is, how long can Black Panther go on? Because other characters have longevity. Not sure about Black Panther.
Yeah. Who knows about Thor, too, because again, how long can you keep up with the God of Thunder?
Well, at least his adopted daughter might become the new Thor, which is what happened in the cartoon. Like, he had a kid with Sif, and she became the new Thor.
Yeah.
But you never know. I don't know if we'll ever see Next Avengers, Heroes of Tomorrow get some kind of adaptation.
Yeah.
Maybe they will. I don't know. But I know in the animated movie Next Avengers, their depiction of Ultron was much better than the MCU's Ultron.
Oh, in the animated one?
Yeah, in the animated movie, that Ultron was menacing, didn't crack jokes, and Tom Kane did such a great performance as Ultron.
Oh, yeah. Well, because I think they try to capture more of the serious Stark in Ultron.
Yeah.
Although, again, in the live action, it was still serious, but with some cleverness to his, with Tony Stark as well.
Definitely. So I think in closing statement with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I would say if you're an MCU completionist, go see this.
Yep.
Because it's the next chapter. But if you're like me and you thought this was filler, you're probably not going to like this one so much. Because this had its moments. There were things I liked. But this is another movie where it takes a while to get going. And when it does get to the interesting stuff, it's cool. But you got to sit through some things to get through that. This is the same problem that the Transformers movies have had. Where the Transformers movies, it took a little while to get to the interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know why Michael Bay was so obsessed with that.
Save all the money for the explosions at the end.
Yeah. But this, I don't know. I just have a very mixed opinion on this one. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's also not the best thing I've ever seen. But this is a sequel where I'm like, it's okay. It's all right. But really, that's all there is to it. There's not much else I can say other than there's stuff I liked, there's stuff I didn't like. It could have been a little shorter, and it could have been a little more interesting. That's what I want to say on it, I guess.
Yeah.
And you? Any closing statements?
No other closing statements.
Okay, so now comes the ultimate ranking time. Where does this rank in the Phase 4 lineup?
I would say probably it's still a solid one in terms of Phase 4. I would take Shang-Chi as 1, then probably No Way Home, 3 and 4, because there were 7 of them.
Yeah.
So, what is it? Yeah, Shang-Chi, No Way Home, and then, the Doctor Strange movie, 3. Let's see, 4. I would say the new Black Panther movie was probably like 4 or 5, I would say. It's in that mix of 4 or 5.
Alright, for me, Black Panther Wakanda Forever was better than Eternals.
Yeah, Eternals is probably down there.
Yeah, Eternals was the most Zack Snyder that the MCU ever got.
Yeah.
Because it felt like a Zack Snyder production at times.
Yeah, I think Eternals is probably 7. Black Widow, because it is in Phase 4, but that will be 6.
For me, Black Widow was probably second best, because I enjoyed that one. It was what I needed after the fallout of Spider-Man Far From Home, which is a movie I absolutely despise.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, I'm going to put at number 3. Shang-Chi will be at number 1. Thor Love and Thunder, I would say... Well, Spider-Man No Way Home, I would say, is better than Thor Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
But the more I watch Spider-Man No Way Home, I think the less I like it.
Yeah. I would probably put the Thor movie at 4, and then the Black Panther 5. Although 5 is like 5 and 6 is probably like there's a gap right there between 5 and 6 at that point.
Yeah, I think with Black Panther, it's like this is a middle ground movie for me where there's things I like, but then again there's things I don't like, and this could have been improved with like say another draft.
Yeah.
Maybe they needed to work out more. Maybe they needed to trim it down. I don't know. But while we're ranking the movies, let's bring in the TV shows, depending on how many you have seen.
Let's see. I have seen, Wanda. I have seen The Falcon, The Winter Soldier. I have seen, the What Ifs. Hawkeye. What else?
What did you see? Moon Knight?
I did see Moon Knight. That was another one I saw. I did not see She-Hulk, and I did not see Miss Marvel.
Okay. For me, WandaVision I did not like, and you can refer to our Doctor Strange video where we discussed our thoughts on that.
I enjoyed the Wanda TV show. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that one I didn't like. That was another instance where it takes a while to get to the interesting stuff, you know?
It did, but what I liked about it, because it went through different TV
yeah,
sitcoms,
I get they were trying to pay tribute to the sitcoms, but it's like, do I have to sit through all this just to get to the interesting stuff? This is what happened in this movie.
Yeah.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I don't like that one, actually, the more I think about it.
That was more live. That was more action than, that definitely right out of the gate, more action.
Well, the action wasn't the problem with it. The problem with Falcon and the Winter Soldier was the political and racial angle was not subtle. And it was so in your face, and it bothered me. And the way the people were written and stuff, the more I think about it, it bothers me.
Yeah.
That scene where he goes, "You gotta do better, Senator." I mean, you expect a politician to do better? Why don't you do it?
Yeah, I think at that point, I think that was going to be more of let them try to solve it before the heroes do. Because if the heroes get involved, remember, Injustice, when Superman gets involved.
Well, Injustice handled it much more better than Falcon and Winter Soldier did.
But what I'm saying is when a hero gets involved, they could take it, how like Superman did it, and just go off the, wire.
Yeah, but Falcon's not really a Superman type.
No, but he could do some damage, though.
I don't know. I mean, action-wise, it was fun, but the political racial angle really bothered me.
Yeah.
It was way too in your face. They clearly spelled it out, and they treated you as if you were an idiot watching that show.
Yeah, I don't know so much of they call you like an idiot per se. I think in that regard, they probably wanted you to be a little bit more aware, basically.
Yeah,
it was. I would say it can be annoying to if you don't want to have it slam in your face like that.
Yeah, which is why the first Black Panther, with its political and racial angle, that I felt, it was kind of in your face, but it was handled in a way where I'm like, okay, I understand why these people are talking about that in that context, But with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it was so in your face, and I'm like, oh gosh. The other problem with Falcon and the Winter Soldier was that it was too long.
Yeah.
It felt long.
Yeah.
And then Loki is a show I actually want to see again.
Yeah, and I think they did say that they're going to come out with the second season of Loki, which is another one I did see, and that was a really good one.
Yeah, for me, I have another name for it. Loki into the Loki-verse. Because we have all these different Lokis running around.
Yep.
But in a way, the Loki TV show was actually kind of clever for me.
Yep.
Because the TVA want to keep a singular timeline. And that to me is the fans who want this timeline to follow this linear route, not branch off.
Yep.
Then the other branches are like the other Marvel fans who want to see all the cool stuff. And I'm not saying we can't see the cool stuff, it's just I want it to be a singular timeline without getting overly complicated.
Well, the TVA plus, I was trying to think of his name.
Triple M, Mobius.
I was about to say the one at the end, basically.
He Who Remains.
He Who Remains. That was the other person, because he's the head of the TV, the TVA, and
Yeah.
And wanted that singular timeline because again, A, he was the one that ruled, but B, it kept on that timeline.
Yeah, because there's other variants of him, and they engaged in a multiverse war.
Yep.
And he says, there's variants of me out there that are no good.
Yeah.
He's talking about Kang the Conqueror, which we will see in Ant-Man 3
Yep.
and Avengers 5. So that'll be kind of interesting.
Yeah, because he warned them about the potential danger of there's people worse than me out there. I may be that your bad guy per se, but I'm better than the next person.
Yeah. But I did enjoy aspects of Loki. I didn't really mind it that much, and I would definitely watch it again if I could.
Yep.
What kills me, though, is the runtime. It felt like a Netflix show. Because you know how Netflix shows feel lengthy, and you're like, please end, please end? That's the issue I've had with some of the Marvel shows.
Yep.
What If was the best watch for me, because I have an affinity for animated properties, and they kept the storylines focused, and they were far more investing than some of the other things we've gotten.
Yep. And again, the What If kind of plays on that mantle of different multiverses, basically.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we can't have that, it's just I don't want the multiverse to be complicated when we get to like Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you play with multiverse, it will get complicated.
Which reminds me, do you think we're going to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield again?
Maybe that is definitely a possibility. There were since the No Way Home movie, there has been some speculations of them returning.
Yeah, because they said that Tobey Maguire was going to show up in Doctor Strange 2, I think. This was a rumor, and he didn't.
Nope, he did not. Yep.
But maybe it was due to budget, they couldn't have him come around.
Yeah.
Hawkeye I actually ended up liking more than other people did. Because people were complaining that one was a bait and switch situation. Where you want to see Hawkeye, fight the bad guys and take names. That wasn't the case, because in the story, he's basically retired at that point.
Well, yeah, because it was more of it was more of him retiring, but then there is something that popped up that linked his past, someone that took the Rodin, that Rodin, name, which is him. It was him, but he was that was retired because of Natasha.
Oh yeah.
But since he saw Rodin, that another person who took the name Rodin fighting, he had to go bury it.
And then it was found by like Kate Bishop at like an auction.
Yep.
But I think the reason why I enjoyed Hawkeye so much was I kept comparing it to Batman Beyond, but I don't know if that was fair because they're two entirely different things.
Well, yeah, because again, Batman was he had his last mission at some point, and then was like he
retires, and then Terry McGinnis takes up the mantle.
Yeah, and plus he kind of realized in that last mission where he was too old for it.
Yeah, but the dynamic between Clint and Kate Bishop was something I really enjoyed.
Yeah. And
Yelena, was nice to see her again.
Yeah.
She was pretty cool. The Kingpin was nice to watch.
Oh, yeah,
and then the new character was Maya something? Because I know she's getting her own TV series.
The
deaf character, yeah. Actually, her superhero name is Echo. We're going to see more of her in Phase 5.
Oh, yeah. Although, where she shot Kingpin,
Yeah, but he's not dead. He's coming back.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to see Daredevil go up against this character, possibly.
Yep.
But I did enjoy Hawkeye for what it was, although I call it the Hawkeye Christmas special, because that's really what it was.
It was Christmas, and it came out during that Christmas time.
Yeah, but I liked it. I did like the dynamic.
Yep.
And people who complained about the bait and switch, well, honestly, if you're going in there expecting nothing but Hawkeye being cool and fighting bad guys, you're going to be disappointed.
Yep.
But in the context of where the story is, I think it makes sense
Yep.
in the timeline.
Yep.
And then Moon Knight was a show that I did enjoy.
Yep. That was a good one.
It was really intriguing, although it could have been R-rated because I hear Moon Knight's one of the darker characters in Marvel.
He is, yeah, per se, because there's technically three people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
there
three
were-
people in one body. And the third one that you barely see, he's the more deadly one. Because there are sequences where Moon Knight and Steven and Moon Knight, they kind of flip places, but during that sequence, when Steven gets back takes control again, it's almost like blacking out from a hangover. He's like, what the frick just happened?
Yeah.
And there's several times where he blames Moon Knight, but Moon Knight's like, that wasn't me though. And they're like, well, if it wasn't you, then who was it?
Yeah, and the Egyptian lore in Moon Knight was really cool, and it actually reminded me a lot of the Mummy in certain sequences.
Yeah.
And then the Egyptian gods,
Yep.
that was like... what I liked about that so much was it wasn't people, it was animals.
Well, the animals in their spirit form per se, but they did have people that they took over basically, or it was more of like the kind of like the bot, like, okay, this is kind of like my carrier basically per se, like this person, this person is kind of like my person. When I need to talk to you guys, I just go to him basically to take over.
But Moon Knight is a show I would actually want to watch, and he's actually considered Marvel's Batman. But the actual TV show didn't have too many Batman connections, because I know in the comics there's enough similarities to Batman you'll be able to pick up on them.
Yeah, because he is like the dark, like kind of like broody character per se. Moon Knight is.
Yeah, he's like a darker, brooding character.
Yeah. Although he takes it a little bit more to the extreme in terms of killing. He can kill, unlike Batman.
Yeah, and Marvel, they didn't want to make something too mature, which is why it felt very PG-13.
Yeah.
But maybe in the hands of another studio, it could have been rated R.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then on to the final two, because I know you didn't watch these two.
Yep.
I will talk about them. Ms. Marvel was a frustrating watch because you got to sit through some stuff before you get to anything interesting in that one.
Yeah.
It was so frustrating. The teenage angle was painful in the beginning.
And I did hear the whole, like you were talking about earlier, the first mutant thing that was...
Oh, yeah, because they went off about how Ms. Marvel was like the first mutant, and they played the little X-Men theme at the end. But then Namor comes around. He was born way earlier than this character was.
Yeah. Although technically speaking, in terms of going to the X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah, Apocalypse was the first mutant.
Yep.
So there you go. We'll definitely see it. I don't know if we're going to see Apocalypse later on in these movies.
I don't know about that one per se, but again, because he was technically theorized as, or talked about, or shown as the first mutant, basically.
Yeah, so it's like Marvel's going on saying Ms. Marvel's the first mutant, but then they're like, nope, Namor was. Maybe they'll do it again with Apocalypse or someone else. I don't know.
Well, yeah, because Fox at the time when they have the X-Men, they're like, it was Apocalypse that was the first one.
It's always been that way in the comics too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ms. Marvel was... The other thing that really bothered me was that Kamala Khan was a fan of Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, but Carol Danvers has not been on Earth long enough to have that justified. That was something that really bothered me. Because it's like, there's no way you can fangirl about this character if they haven't spent that much time on Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, just,
And then finally, which was probably the most controversial TV show out of the Marvel movie.
She-Hulk.
Yeah. Or shows, yeah.
I'm gonna go on a rant about this one.
Alright.
This show, She-Hulk, it's not a show. It's a joke. And it's wasted potential. It's so trash. I was literally cringing the whole time I was watching it.
I know the first episode brought up the most one, then it was supposed to got a little bit better.
No, it didn't. It did not.
But then there were some other scenes I know kind of like brought up the controversies again, per se.
Well, the problem is they claim She-Hulk is stronger than the Hulk. And I'm like, no, No. In the comics, the Hulk is stronger. She's not as strong as he is. The show goes out of its way to claim that, which is BS.
Well, maybe she may be stronger than this variation of Hulk, because this variation of Hulk is just a little bit more...
Oh, I hate this variation of Hulk.
Yeah.
I get character development, but I do not like this variation. I've never liked this variation.
Yeah. I mean, you could make the argument that She-Hulk is stronger than this variation of Hulk, because he's more tamed, more Bruce... It's just more Bruce Banner with the body of a Hulk, rather than the Hulk, and just going berserk.
Yeah, and then what they did to Abomination in this show was just... It made me long for the days of the Incredible Hulk and how good that was.
Yeah.
I still defend that movie as better than the really bad stuff, and it's not as bad as you people think, okay?
Yep. Another controversial scene I've heard about, and I've seen on YouTube.
Before we get into that, because there's other controversies. Basically, what they did with the Abomination, it was quasi Shawshank Redemption, but very poor man's Shawshank Redemption, what they did with him. And then the villain, which was Tatiana, or however you say her name, she was such a lame character in She-Hulk. Because every time she's on screen, I'm like, this is not a character. This is pathetic. I mean, and the plot lines in this show were so bad, I literally felt like I wasted my time.
Yeah.
Like, there's an episode, it was episode 6, where it's nothing but She-Hulk being a bridesmaid at a wedding, and nothing interesting happens. I'm like, Gah! But what was the controversial scene you want to get into?
The other one I heard about, which I saw clips of, and this was made memes about, the twerk sequence.
I skipped over that sequence because when I got to that, I knew which episode it was. I kind of skimmed through. You know how when you skim through something, you can see like what's coming on the future.
Yep.
You see this on YouTube and other services like Netflix, HBO Max, and Disney Plus. And I was skimming through that, and I saw still. I'm like, nope, not watching that because why was that made? Why was that scene made?
Don't know. That part I would not know how to tell you about that one.
I have no reason for why that scene exists. It's a waste of time. Should have been cut, and it is degrading. It is so degrading.
Yep.
Like, how is it empowering? It's degrading.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could say it's almost kind of like hypocritical when the first episode she talked about being empowerment, which was supposed to be the show.
Then she went on a catcalling rant in the first episode, which did not need to be there.
Yeah, that one was like, oh, because it was supposed to be like, oh yeah, you go, but it's like, woo me with the cat call.
Yeah, like, that was so frustrating.
I get that can be annoying, don't get me wrong, it can be annoying, but that one could be not as irritating, or should not get you more of an anger point as what Bruce Banner was when he was basically, threatened to be killed by the American government, and everyone around him was threatened as well.
Yeah, what Banner's gone through is so much worse than what Jen Walters has gone through.
Yeah.
I do not... I can't even comprehend. What was also really bad about She-Hulk, the ending, featuring the AI character that's supposed to be Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Where she breaks the fourth wall.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't even know how to describe the scene, but towards the end, she realizes something's not right. And then the TV goes to the menu screen for Disney Plus, like the Marvel menu on Disney Plus, you know? When that happened, I seriously thought the TV broke. Or I got kicked out of the show. I seriously did. And then she bursts one of the thumbnails, comes out, goes into the studio, sees all the writers, then meets a Kevin Feige robot, and then they go off about how the MCU is formulaic, follows similar plots, and I'm like, just because we have called that out does not make you smart. It doesn't make you clever.
Well, that one, in terms of that controversy for you, I would defend only because She-Hulk has been mentioned about breaking the fourth wall a few times.
That was another thing I hated about that show, was the fourth wall breaking. Yep. If I was writing She-Hulk, I would not do that. Not one bit.
See, but that's the thing, though. She has done it in the comic book, though. She has done fourth wall breaking before. Right. I know it's not as, not as much or clever as, as Deadpool.
Well,
with
Deadpool, like, it makes sense because he's a funny character.
Yep.
But with She-Hulk, I'm like, I'm not laughing. No. I'm not.
And going back on it, I know another sequence I heard about was her versus or face off against Daredevil.
Actually, no, they didn't face off. I don't remember, but they kind of teamed up.
Oh, they teamed up.
But what they did to Daredevil was very not good. He's supposed to be a dark, brooding character, which is what the Netflix series nailed so perfectly.
Yep.
In this, he's a joke. And then he hooks up with She-Hulk, no exaggeration. And then the morning after, he's like walking on a lawn with no shoes on. And I'm like, you have sunk this low, Marvel, haven't you? You have sunk this low. That was, The other bad thing about She-Hulk, the CGI was horrible. It looked like, the way she was animated, it looked like Princess Fiona from Shrek. And when the 2003 Hulk came out, they criticized the Hulk for looking like an angry version of Shrek.
Oh, yeah?
That criticism is kind of still valid, but with this new Hulk, he still looks like an angry Shrek. This looked like an angry Fiona.
Although, funny enough, that joke in me was brought back up again.
What joke and meme?
The Shrek and Hulk thing.
I don't remember a Shrek and Hulk meme.
Well, because...
Oh, you're talking about the criticism that I mentioned?
Yeah, the criticism that you were mentioning right there, yeah. Because I did see a meme where She-Hulk was on top of Shrek.
Oh, I saw that too, and that made me just...
Yeah.
Don't degrade Shrek like that. He is too good for that kind of thing. And, like, then they put in this unnecessary social commentary in She-Hulk that's like, oh, strong woman character, and I'm like, no, I didn't need to see that. I did not. Yeah, and you know what really hurts the most about She-Hulk? The creator of She-Hulk, who's also the main writer, she wrote Pickle Rick, one of the best episodes of Rick and Morty. How do you go from Pickle Rick to this? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't... Yeah.
It's like they gave her too much power, or she's got too much of an ego. I don't know what the case is. But that She-Hulk was the worst thing to come out of Phase 4.
I would probably say more of arrogance, and maybe you could probably throw in ego, but I would say more arrogance.
Something like that. But She-Hulk is seriously the worst thing to come out of Phase 4. It's worse than Eternals. It's worse than Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which we just saw. It's worse than Ms. Marvel. It's worse than Thor Ragnarok. And She-Hulk ranks right up there with some of the worst superhero movies I think I've ever seen in my life. It is that bad. And I don't even know how people liked it.
You can focus on the left side a little bit more about that part, but that's a different conversation.
I don't know how people liked it, but maybe they were easily entertained. I expect more.
Yeah.
I really do. Because here's the thing. I was on board with the idea of a She-Hulk show because, the Hulk doesn't get a lot of stuff compared to the other heroes.
Yep.
He doesn't get a lot of stuff. Not a lot of video games, TV shows. I was on board with this. But what we got was so bad. Just, But Black Panther Wakanda Forever is much more tolerable than She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Because at least Black Panther Wakanda Forever, there is something interesting in there, and they are telling a story. It's not overly comedic, which I liked.
Yep.
But I have some issues with it, but it's better than She-Hulk.
All right.
Really, anything is better than She-Hulk. Seriously, anything's better than She-Hulk.
Yep.
Oh, gosh. I had my She-Hulk rant. There you go, guys. So, that is the end of Marvel's Phase 4.
And I guess if you want more rant, you could probably put that in the comic section. If you want more, like another video, just straight up rant.
I'd rather not waste my energy on that. I'm saving my rants for other things.
All right.
That upcoming Flash film next year, if that's bad, if that's bad, and it might be, you might see me have a rage fit on camera. If it's bad.
If it's bad.
I'm pretty sure The Marvels, which is in Phase 5, that's the sequel to Captain Marvel and Ms. Marvel.
Oh, yeah?
If that ends up being bad, which it might, I think we might rage on camera with that one. And I have seen you get angry and rage before.
Yeah, I know you have. But, yeah.
Because that was the movie that made us want to do this in the first place.
Oh, you're talking about that movie. Yeah.
Moonfall.
Oh, yeah, Moonfall.
It's true. That movie made us want to do this, and it awakened something in us.
Yeah.
But we will not go into what that was. That was a night we'll never forget.
Yeah.
That was, wow. I mean, we're in for some big stuff next year. But before we get to the stuff for next year, our next one will be Avatar: The Way of Water.
That will be a long-waited movie for sure.
And it's a 3-hour, 10-minute movie, but James Cameron has defended the runtime for that.
Yep. And again, I know some people, in terms of long-waited, I know some people were on the pessimistic side in terms of we're not going to believe it until it's officially out or something like that.
Yes, but I'm reserving judgment until we see it.
Yeah.
Because I'm hoping Avatar: The Way of Water is far more exciting than Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's more interesting.
And the other side of caution has also been, it's been over a decade since, Avatar.
Yeah, but there was a long gap between Terminator sequels and Alien sequels.
True, but that long of a gap? I'm just saying, like, that big of a gap between the first movie and its sequels, basically.
There was also a gap between the Predator movies, where there was a gap between Predator 2 and Predators, and I actually really liked Predators. That was one of my favorite Predator movies.
Yeah. And just saying that there have been cautions, though, about that, where it's like, you took this long, basically.
Well, Cameron said the reason why it took this long was because he needed to change the script up. He also wanted to develop new technology.
Yep.
And he has said if 2 and 3 don't make enough money, 4 and 5 will be canceled.
Yeah.
And he might merge the stuff he's already filmed with 4 into 3. Maybe, I don't know. He's got some kind of contingency plan, but I have kind of this cautious optimistic the second one's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Or something like that. We'll have to wait and see.
Yep, definitely, for sure.
But I'm hoping Avatar: The Way of Water is far more interesting than Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I did not overly hate this movie. Look, I'm going to say this. You take joy in what you like. I'm just a guy who's giving an opinion, And you are too.
Yep.
And we did not hate this movie. We've got maybe some kind of division on it.
Yeah, although I know in my rankings I have it as 5, but again, like I said, 5 and 6 is just a gap right there for me.
Yeah, but I did not hate this movie. I thought it was okay. I thought there were things I liked in it. There were things I didn't like. I'm not the bad guy here, okay? Because something I do want to bring up, I was concerned we were going to get barred from seeing this movie because there are SJW activists who have been like, if you're a white person and you go see this movie, you're a racist. If you don't see it, you are a racist. And they've been saying, like, only African Americans should see this movie and nobody else. And I'm like,
Yeah, no. Again, when I first saw it, me and my buddies, we did not get any of that per se. And I never really heard anything like this until you brought it up to me about that.
Yeah, I mean it, man. There are activists who say you and me should not see it because of our skin color, and I'm like, oh jeez. I hate those arguments. They are just some of the worst arguments I've ever heard.
It's only getting worse and worse. Well, technically got worse since 2016.
It started around 2015 because South Park exposed me to all of this.
I would say more 2016 for reasoning, and then it just kind of got worse and worse and worse.
Well,
And then,
did you ever see PC Principal in South Park?
I believe I might have saw it. I think I saw some of those South Park episodes around that point.
Yeah, when PC Principal came onto the scene, it brought so much awareness to me of what's going on.
See, for me, I think it was just 2016. Well, mainly it was the presidential election that brought this about vastly, for sure. But then then you start hearing them, and it was just like, okay, whatever. And then I think it was during the 2020 pandemic and everything else like that amplified it more, basically.
Yeah, I mean, all this woke stuff that's been going on, it's annoying.
Yeah.
I hate it so much. I wish it would end, and maybe it kind of is. I don't know.
It's still around, but I think it's getting to the point where people are getting a little bit more irritated by the minute or by the day.
Oh, really? Because we've been irritated about it since the beginning.
Yeah, but it was just more of a irritation, but at first it was just more of a it'll die down, kind of like how how some parents, the stereotypical, it's just a phase, let it ride out, but that phase has gone on too far.
Yeah, definitely. And some people have said there's woke stuff in the Marvel movies, and there is. I saw it in Captain Marvel, I saw it in She-Hulk, I saw it, maybe a little bit of it in Ms. Marvel, I don't know. But I may have seen some over the course of this Phase 4, just not too much, I would say.
I would say Phase 4, it has dipped into the more of the more of that woke stuff.
I would say maybe the TV shows had a little more of that. The movies, somewhat, but they were kind of restrained a little bit.
Yeah, movies not so much. I would say more of the TV shows. That would be kind of like that agreement right there.
Yeah. But we'll see if they keep this up with Phase 5. Maybe they'll diet down a bit. I don't know.
We will see about that one for sure.
As for the next Marvel movie, we will see Ant-Man 3. Well, they got the Rick and Morty, one of the Rick and Morty writers attached to that. Not the one who did She-Hulk. They got somebody else.
Yep.
And I'm like, that might actually spice the movie up a bit.
Yep.
But we'll see.
Yep.
Because I want some wacky sci-fi stuff in the next Ant-Man movie.
Well, I mean, there's definitely going to be some wacky sci-fi stuff. It's Quantum Mania.
And please have Pickle Rick make a cameo. But they might not do that.
I don't know about that one. They may have something similar, but...
Well, they could have some kind of reference to it.
Yeah.
We'll never know. But we shall see. So, yeah. We're going to wrap this up. We kind of let this go on for a little while. But I'd say go watch this movie, make up your own opinion. Because that's what a lot of people are doing with this one.
Definitely, for sure.
Like I said, I didn't hate this. This was a mixed bag for me. There's stuff I liked about it. The action was good as it got. Namor was pretty cool. Ironheart I didn't mind, although she felt similar to other Marvel characters. And maybe this could have been a little shorter and more investing of a story.
Maybe with Val, you could have probably cut her out a little bit more, but just because I don't know, it was really kind of confusing. Now, after a second watch, it's more of why is she really there in the first place?
If I was to do kind of a best of movies with the MCU binge, I would say Iron Man 1, The Incredible Hulk, the first Thor, all the Captain America movies, Avengers, the first Avengers, Avengers Infinity War, Guardians 2 I liked more than the first one, Doctor Strange, I would say Spider-Man Homecoming I enjoyed, No Way Home I would watch again over Far From Home, and then Black Widow I would watch again, Shang-Chi I would watch again, Doctor Strange 2 I would watch again. That would be kind of my best of. Somewhat. I'd have to revise that a bit. Maybe you got a different list.
I would have to think about it some more in terms of a list, dating back to all the other like Phase 1s and 2 stuff.
Maybe we'll make printed lists next time or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, that's all we got to say. I wish I kind of had more to say about this, but truthfully, I am feeling the fatigue with these Marvel movies, and it did start with Thor: Love and Thunder, which I kind of liked, but that's where the fatigue was starting with me. Even I was having trouble trying to remember that one when we talked about it.
With Thor: Love and Thunder?
Yeah, I was kind of having trouble trying to remember it. Maybe it's because the fatigue's really starting to settle in, but I did remember some stuff. But it's like, yeah, the fatigue's setting in, and maybe we just need a new franchise.
I don't know what you could do between Marvel and DC or stuff like that.
Oh, wait, one more thing I did want to say about Black Panther, and then we got to wrap this up. Whenever we see landscapes of the Wakandan landscape or the African landscape, and you hear that chanting that's... I was getting District 9 vibes from that. Because District 9 has a theme. It's set in South Africa, and it goes... You know? I don't know if you saw District 9, but the movie's theme sounds very similar to that.
Not too sure about that one.
Well, yeah. You never know. Anyway, folks, that's all for today. We will be back for Avatar: The Way of Water. And although it's 3 hours, 10 minutes long, let's hope it's a good one. See y'all later.